Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Wednesday, the 9th of October. I'm Derek Clark. I'm joined this morning by Chris Jack. How goes it, Chris? Oh, it's the 8th of October. It's the 8th of October. Silly me.
I can't quite believe it's only Wednesday. It feels like it's been a very long week already, but we're slowly but surely ticking off the days.
Yeah, we absolutely are. We're in the international break, but there is plenty to discuss with regards to Rangers. We're on another managerial search. Before we get stuck into that, a quick word for our podcast sponsors. Willows Fencing, the great guys at the Glasgow-based fencing company that you can trust and proud partners of the Rangers Review. If you're looking for a new fence, folks, these are the guys to call. Or if you head on over to their website, which is Willows-Fencing, you get 10% off with the code Rangers Review. And they also offer free consultations, no matter how big or small the job is. Right, we're on day number 3 of the managerial search, I guess. We had on Monday the open letter from Parag Marathi and Andrew Kavanagh about their involvement in finding a successor to Russell Martin, and lots of names being bandied around. But you had the story yesterday, Chris. One name that will not be in the running for this job is Sean Dyche.
I think we mentioned Dyche on the show at the start of the week, and I was actually surprised a wee bit by the number of comments, people saying, no, he's not for me, he's not the right man. It seemed quite a kind of overwhelming view of Sean Dyche. At various points over the last couple of seasons, I thought he would have been a decent appointment for Rangers. I know his Everton time wasn't exactly sterling, but working in some difficult circumstances at that time, you look at what he achieved with Burnley, Premier League experience certainly makes Rangers more organised, certainly makes them more difficult to play against. Not that it would be hard, given how easy to play against they have been so far this season. So I wasn't completely against Sean Dyche, but checked that out yesterday morning. And I know there had been some reports down south that Kevin Thelwell and Sean Dyche obviously known each other from Everton. There had been some reports that they had already met and already spoken. That's not the case. There's been no conversation regarding the Rangers job, and Sean Dyche is not on the Rangers list. He's not one that they're going to pursue and that they're going to speak to regarding this. So we can strike that one off. There's obviously a lot of other names doing the rounds. One slightly more prominently than others, of course, but it wouldn't be Sean Dyche. So we can rule that one out.
Yeah, we certainly can. As you mentioned, there is a prominent name doing the rounds, and it is former boss Steven Gerrard. And he was on a podcast, an interview with Rio Ferdinand, of all people, for Rio's YouTube channel. And he spoke about a number of things. He admitted he has unfinished business in management. This is just some of the snippets about what he had to say. He said, I'd love another go at some point. I want to change a few things and improve a few things and come back fresh with a few different people around myself. I'd love another couple of challenges doing this. And that's what I'm working on in the background at the moment. A few different ideas, a few different people around me. Now I'm enjoying family time and doing a lot of things that I haven't been able to do. Going to the Grand Prix, doing exhibition games with ex-teammates and superstars. That type of stuff's been great. But there's a part of me that still feels there's a bit of unfinished business in terms of wanting to go in and face another couple of exciting challenges. But I want a certain type of challenge. If in an ideal world they become available, I'll jump at them. If they don't, I won't go back in. I want to be at the team that's going to compete to win, because I think that suits me better. You can read all that he had to say over on the Rangers Review website, so do go and check it out. He reflected on his first on that spell at Ibrox as well. He says, I got the opportunity to go to Rangers and I loved it. Rangers, I felt it like it was the perfect match, and it went on from there. I think this has got legs, Chris. Do you think Steven Gerrard, he's a name that's top of the bookmakers list as it stands just now? Could you see him coming back to steer the ship?
Again, when we spoke about this on Monday, he was the man that I put forward as my choice. I had a piece on the site on Tuesday morning, I think it was, looking at why, for me, Gerrard is the is the ideal candidate. That piece kind of laid out a number of considerations that Rangers have to have. Do you go Scottish? Do you go British? Do you go European? Do you have success on your CV as a manager? What's your tactical approach? Obviously, what's your wage demands as well? For me, Gerrard ticks more boxes than any other candidate. I know a lot of chat about like Stephen Robinson, Derek McInnes is obviously quite high up in people's estimations right now as well, and Kevin Muscat is the other name that people are kind of looking at and saying he would be a possibility. As we had on the site yesterday, as far as we understand it, there's no contact with Kevin Muscat as yet. So for me, it looks like Gerrard is the one that Rangers should be going for. I think he's the obvious choice. Sometimes the obvious answer is the easy answer, is the right answer, and for me, I think Steven Gerrard should be the next Rangers manager. Will he be the next Rangers manager? Of course, that's what we're trying to find out. That's what we're spending our days trying to get to the bottom of. But I think there seems to be a real momentum behind Gerrard amongst the fans now. Even before that podcast interview with Rio Ferdinand, you look at his comments there, and he obviously he doesn't name Rangers. He doesn't say I want to be Rangers manager, but the things that he's laying out and the things that he's looking for in a job. I speak there about Gerrard ticking a lot of boxes for Rangers. Rangers ticks a lot of boxes for Steven Gerrard as well.
Yep, I think a lot of fans would like to see him return to the club. My only concern is, I know he says he's got unfinished business, but I'm not too sure he's going to be the right guy. I think he'll unite the fan base, that's for sure, and he'll get supporters believing again, many of them. But whether he's a man to lead the club, I'm not entirely all in on that one, I've got to say. Interestingly, Jermaine Defoe, who worked with Gerrard at Rangers a few years ago now, speaking to Sky Sports, says, I've done all my coaching badges. If I got an opportunity to come back to that club to help this group of players, then it would be a no-brainer. I said it from day one, as soon as I retired. It's well documented the time I had there and winning arguably the most important league in the club's history. Myself, Stephen, and all the boys did that. It was amazing to be part of it. It's more than just a football club. I think I understood what it was about. I understood when you put on a Rangers shirt, you have to win, and the demands and the standards. There's talk that he could maybe form part of a coaching team as well. Chris, we've seen Gary McAllister speaking about it. He was asked about it as well. Can you see the band getting back together, perhaps? Do you think that they could form part if Gerrard is the man, the Defoe and McAllister coming up? Then you've got supporters asking, does Michael Beale come back? I'm not necessarily sure that would be the right route to go down.
There's maybe one member of the band that people don't want to see back on the stage, isn't there? The Michael Beale issue, question, debate is one that will be had further down the line if it becomes evident that Steven Gerrard is on track to be Rangers manager. Again, a lot of social media chat yesterday about who could they bring in. I think the smiling Gary Mack's face said it all. I think he'd be well up for it, you have to say. A lot of people mentioning Steve Davis, someone we spoke about the other day there. A lot of people mentioning Jermaine Defoe, people mentioning Kevin Thompson, Barry Ferguson, other kind of Rangers heroes and other guys that have got a great affinity with the club. I think Stephen kind of referenced this on that interview yesterday. His staff is really important to him, and it was really important to him first time around. He knew that when he came in 2018, he knew that he wasn't the ideal Rangers manager because he had no managerial experience. It was the ideal figurehead. It was the ideal guy for a squad to look up to, the ideal guy for signings to aspire to work under, and has that personality, that statesman-like figure, that aura to be Rangers manager. But he had gaps in his knowledge in terms of putting on sessions and the tactical side of the game. Clearly didn't have any real managerial experience. So the staff that he had first time around, it really worked well. It complemented him. It filled in the gaps, but he was able to fill in the gaps on other members of that staff as well. Now, Stephen has personality that Michael Beale doesn't. Michael Beale is better at that time. Michael Beale was more adept at putting on training sessions than Steven Gerrard was. So I think when he mentions that yesterday, and his staff all being available and all being in the right place, if that was to happen this time around, that certainly looks like a positive in terms of Gerrard coming back to Rangers. He needs all these guys round about him. It's not just a case of you're hiring Steven Gerrard, you're hiring Gerrard and his staff. And if you look back at what we've just been through, you have to say that the staff that Russell Martin had could have been of a higher calibre. You look at the clubs that they've worked at or worked for, the levels that they've worked at, there wasn't a lot of high level coaching experience there. There wasn't a lot of success as a coach and a manager there. So you do have to have that in mind. Yes, your manager is your figurehead. The manager is the main man at the football club. But you have to be aware of what he's bringing with him. And I think if Steven can get that, if he can get that team back together, I say for me, he becomes the obvious candidate for Rangers right now.
Yeah, it's a good point there on coaches. I remember speaking to an ex-player a good few weeks ago now, but speaking about playing under a manager or a coach, and the dressing room is really important, really complex place. But if a manager or coaching staff come in there and they don't hit the ground running with the players, if the players don't believe in what they're being asked to do, then you lose them quickly. And the players need to believe in what your aims are. I think it's a fair point there on the coaching staff. It certainly looked like on the pitch that the players weren't exactly trusting the process, whatever that appeared to be. So it's important whoever comes in commands the respect of the players. And I think if you do that, then it's half the battle. Moving on to loads of points coming in, as you can imagine here. Just on the issue of Gerrard, you can't do that. Says, I wouldn't pick Gerrard, but compared to Martin, God, bring it on. Maka with the point says, Steven Gerrard is an attraction, but I'm leaning more towards McInnes. Walter rated him, and this could be his time. He's a man manager, and that's what we need right now. And incidentally, I think that is what Rangers needs right now. Someone like Derek McInnes. Now, whether they inquire about his availability from Hearts is another thing, but he has shown that he has the credentials to organise a team and get a team winning in Scotland, which I think is what Rangers require right now. I've got to say, I would be more leaning towards McInnes than a Steven Gerrard right now myself. Derek McInnes, if he was a man, Chris, do you think that could bring success to Rangers, do you reckon?
The McInnes situation is an interesting one, because if you remember back to when Gerrard got the job, obviously 7 years or so ago, when McInnes became very, very, very close to becoming Rangers manager, there wasn't a lot of love for him at that time, and that was in the back of some really solid seasons at Aberdeen. Obviously won the cup, had been a really successful Aberdeen manager. Time has been kind to Derek McInnes in the eyes of the Rangers fans, haven't it? Now they look at the job that he's done at Hearts this season and they think we would like a bit of that. I think he would be a really solid appointment. I would have no issues with that at all. Whether Hearts would want to lose him or not, I think the answer to that question is fairly obvious. Now they've got a really good thing going there under Tony Bloom, and Derek has also played a huge part in that. Their signings have been good. They've won a lot of matches. They've won matches in different circumstances. Obviously got a great derby win the other night there, so they're really flying high. You would think the emotional attachment and the chance to go into Europe and the chance to potentially win silverware more regularly with Rangers would be really at the forefront of Derek's mind. But he might see Hearts on a really upward spiral right now, thinking that they could be that side that regularly challenges, that regularly wins, that regularly competes in Europe. And you have to say, if they continue on this trajectory, there is no reason why they can't. So I think it will be a really big decision for Derek to make, and probably a bigger decision this time around than it was previously when he was Aberdeen manager. Of course, Hearts will do everything they can to hold on to him. He signed a long-term contract there after moving from Kelly. They're looking for him to be the guy that they build around, and our colleagues at the Hearts Standard yesterday reporting that Hearts will do everything that they can to hold on to him, and they're confident that he will remain at Tynecastle. So I do understand why people do have a preference for McInnes. If it was me, it's between Gerrard and McInnes. I don't think anyone else gets in that conversation right now unless things change. Still hitching my wagon to it's a Gerrard train, but if it ends up being McInnes, I think he will be a really good and a really solid Rangers manager.
Yep, agreed. I love this. Jamie says, imagine the first press conference with Gerrard. I wouldn't miss it for the world. There'd be box office again. The folk would start engaging and tuning into the press conferences. Chris, did you enjoy a Steven Gerrard press conference back in the day?
Enjoyed the first one. The first one was a great day. All the fans at Ibrox, and just the sense of occasion almost. I was fortunate enough and lucky enough to do a number of Gerrard pressers over the years. Obviously, a number of big games, a number of big moments, a number of disappointing moments. But you have to say that when Steven Gerrard speaks, everyone listens. He had the Rangers fans in the palm of his hand with that famous message of "Let's go," and after that, people just bought into it. I think we can't rewrite history and say he was always a universally approved Rangers manager. There was times, certainly in those first 2 seasons, obviously, where the pressure was on. People were questioning whether he was the right man. Some circumstances went for him, some circumstances went against him. But you have to look back at the record in Europe, which was remarkable. You have to look back at the Old Firm record, coming off the back of some really barren years for Rangers in that fixture. Gerrard changed the mentality, not just changed the record. He changed the mentality in those fixtures, and that's something that Rangers potentially haven't had since he departed. And then you also look at 55 and that wonderful Premiership campaign. Should he have won more? Of course he should. And I fully understand why people say he didn't have the success that he should have done. He had a group of players that should have won more trophies. I don't think he would shy away from that. I don't think those players would shy away from that. But I think when he says he's got unfinished business, I think it's obvious what that unfinished business is, and that is going on and really winning more silverware here. He's built a legacy with that 55th title. To add to that, would really kind of cement his place in the history of this football club.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of interesting points. I like this. Some left field names. Jim McCarroll gets in touch. He says, more ambition is needed. Must at least sound out Benitez and Lampard. I don't think Frank Lampard is going anywhere just now. He's got Coventry flying in the Championship, and he's certainly shown that he has managerial nous and the credentials. I think he'll get the Sky Blues up to the Premier League this season. Benitez, no disrespect to the guy, he's been a massive success in the managerial game. He was previously at Celta Vigo over in Spain, and that was his last job. 65 now. I'm not necessarily sure that is a route that Rangers should be going down, Chris. I think at his time, perhaps maybe being unkind to Rafa, because he's a great guy and certainly knows football a lot more than me. But I think maybe his time is come and gone.
I have to agree. I think if you look at the profiles that Rangers were linked with before and they were interested in before, and the profiles that we believe they will be interested in and working with this time around, Rafa is very far out of that particular diagram, isn't he? He's a very different approach, very different profile of manager. And like you, I think his journey is probably on the way down rather than the way up. So I would be surprised if that's someone that Rangers would go for. I have to say, a terrific manager in his day. If you're hiring him 10, 15 years ago, you are absolutely onto something special. But these days, I think his star is on the way, and so I'd be surprised if he's one for Rangers. Frank Lampard is interesting because, again, like Derek McInnes, when he was linked previously, there wasn't an awful lot of love for Frank Lampard. People were saying, well, second time at Chelsea wasn't great, Everton not good at all.
Yep, I love this. BR Traditional Windows, Radburn Barry says, Derek, you are clueless, Gerrard all day long. So there you go. That's his point on that from Barry. Craig Williams with a point as well, just on sort of timescales, I guess, given we are in the international break. He says, can we expect an appointment before the end of the break? Rangers are hopeful in that open letter. Andrew Kavanagh said that they'll be working hard to get an appointment in place. Do you think that's before the team return against Dundee United, Saturday the 18th of October, Chris, that someone will be at the helm? Do you think that's likely?
From a selfish point of view, for myself and Josh and all the guys on the team, I hope so, because I could really do without another prolonged managerial search. After a takeover, a manager hunt, a transfer window, a manager sacking, we could really do with this one being a short, sharp affair. Understandably, people at the club don't want to commit themselves to any timescales. Now that match against Dundee United gives you a natural timescale, if you like. It gives you a natural thing or a date to aim for. But there's no point in rushing the process just to get someone in for Dundee United and then get yourself 6 weeks down the line and realise that you made the wrong call. So I would be comfortable with Rangers taking a bit of time just to make sure that it is the right person. But hopefully it doesn't drag on. It doesn't drag on too long. We know that Andrew Kavanagh and Parag Manati are taking a real hands-on approach to this whole process. Last time they obviously got involved, but it was quite late on. We know how that process unfolded. We know the number of interviews that were conducted and how long that took. They're going to be at the forefront of this search. They're going to be a lot more hands-on, a lot more involved from the start of it, and hopefully that should speed up the process. It's not going to be a case of other people going through that search and then recommending a candidate and a name to the chairman, and the chairman then having a say on that and going through that final part of the process. It's the chairman and the vice chairman that are really going to lead on this one, obviously with support from Kevin Thelwell and Patrick Stewart. So hopefully the four of them can speed up this process, can make it go as quickly as possible, and we will have a Rangers manager as soon as possible. But I say there's no timescales on it. I say people at the club don't want to commit themselves to it, so we are certainly not going to make the same mistake and commit ourselves to it before, because as soon as you put a timescale on something, you're leaving yourself there to be shot at. So usual caveat of as soon as possible, but I'm not going to give him a day.
Okie dokie. Well, Rio Ferdinand's been on TalkSport talking about that interview I had with Steven Gerrard, and he reckons he would go back to Ibrox. He said, I have to say, when I interviewed him, he left me no uncertain terms that he wants to be a manager and he's got full confidence in doing that. He's itching to get back in now. He never said this to me, but I personally think just the energy that I felt in that room, if Rangers came calling, he'd go, or at least have that conversation. What I felt, if I was an owner for a football club and Steven Gerrard was sat in front of me, and I felt that energy in the room when I was interviewing him, he's getting the job. Forget what's gone on before, but also his time before Rangers. He did great there. I've never had so many Rangers fans flood the comments on my social media or podcast. They're all desperate for him to go up and at least have a conversation and a meeting. So I wouldn't be surprised if Steven Gerrard is a manager again, and Rangers would probably be one of my big bets. So that is what Rio had to say on that. This is an interesting point from DJ Disco Beaver. He says, would it be the end of Thelwell should Gerrard return? I don't think it would be on that one, but we've touched on Kevin Thelwell before. He's had a pretty unimpressive start to life as a sporting director at Rangers, but I don't think he's going anywhere at this point, Chris.
I don't think his future depends on the Steven Gerrard situation or the managerial situation. I don't think it'd be a case of a manager comes in and says, I'm definitely not working with him. I think whatever manager goes through this process, they'll be aware of the structure that they are signing up for and the structure that they're going to work under at Rangers. I know there'll be a lot of chat about Kevin Thelwell, but a lot of chat about Patrick Stewart over the last few weeks, and about their records, about their futures. Time will tell how good this squad actually is. I think now you have to caveat a lot of that because they were working under a manager that was not fit for purpose. They were playing in a style that was not fit for purpose. Let's see how good these players actually are if they have a proper manager and if they have a manager that can get more out of them. So time will tell. That no one at this football club is bulletproof. No one at this football club has a reign that can go on forever. Everyone is always under scrutiny. Everyone is always fighting to come back in the next day. But I don't think the appointment of Gerrard would necessarily be the end of Kevin Thelwell. No, Thelwell will be involved in this process, and I say whoever becomes next Rangers manager, they will know what the structure of the club is and what they are having to work under, certainly in the short term.
Yes, most definitely. There's a point as well coming in from Martin, just on the squad. Of course, many are out representing their respective countries, but he says, when are the players due back in training? I think, is it by the end of the week? I mean, we're on Wednesday now. Is it? Do we have an inkling when they're back at Auchenhowie, Chris?
I think some of them were due back today, but I could be wrong. Again, that might have changed since Monday morning. Obviously, a lot of them away on international duty. There's no real need for them to be in right now. You are just doing sessions, not just to keep yourself ticking over. There's obviously no tactical work that can be done. There's no preparation work that can be done for that Dundee game at this stage. So anyone that reports for duty at Auchenhowie, you are just going through the motions. You're going through your drills. You're keeping yourself ticking over. So there's no real like time scale or pressure on that. It's not a case of, well, the squad are back Wednesday or Thursday or Friday, whenever they're all back in. We need the manager in by that stage. So I think that Dundee United game is the kind of target for a lot of the fans. That's the date that they are looking for. Ideally, you want the manager in as soon as possible to give them as much time ahead of that game. But it's not a case of, well, some of the players are now due back. We need somebody to go and be the manager.
Yeah, Bruno Sparky says, who would take the Dundee United game if we don't have a manager? Imagine, like I said, maybe David McCallum, who's there, Chris. Sal Bibble's still there, the goalie coach. Just trying to think who else. Stephen Smith from the academy. I reckon it might be one of them. We all hope that it's a permanent boss before then, of course. But if football doesn't necessarily be kind to you when you're looking for a new boss, then do you think it'll be those guys who'll take the team?
Just you keep your phone on, Derek. About a 4-4-2 and about a 4-4-2 and about a Neil Warnock. Enjoy yourself, but do it by being disciplined. That's the way forward. I would imagine it'll be Stephen Smith as the most senior coach at the club. There's also not a whole host of coaches that are that qualify for that particular job, but I'd imagine Stephen Smith would be the guy. I said you're short on options, but if it's only going to be a one game gig, then that's who you go for. Obviously Kevin Thompson not at the club anymore, so that leaves Stevie as probably the most qualified one. I don't think you could give it to Sal Bibbo, the goalkeeping coach. That'd be a strange move. So I would imagine it would be Stevie Smith, but time will tell if Rangers get themselves to that situation.
There's a point that came in from Scott B. He says, did they all leave if Martin? Bibbo stayed behind, and Rhys Owen, the performance coach, he is still there as well. So they didn't all leave with Russell Martin. But there we go. We'll wrap up there for now. As ever, folks, make sure you're subscribed not only to the YouTube channel, but following the social media accounts, and subscribe to the website. If we hear of anything, if there are any developments with regards to the managerial search, you'll hear it first at the Rangers Review. And make sure you download the app as well. That is the best way to consume your content, whether it's on Apple or Android. The all-important links are in the description below this video. Right, big farewell to Chris. Thank you for coming on once again. Thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in and interacting with the show. Also, it's greatly appreciated. And we'll speak to you again soon. Bye for now.